Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is Chef Abyssinia. Today we'll be making pan-seared scallops with creamy mushroom risotto. This recipe serves two, and I will list all of the ingredients below. If you have any questions, please do ask in the comment sections below or feel free to DM me on Instagram. Let's get started. Alright, so you're going to need 2 cups of chicken broth or chicken stock. I'm using chicken broth. If you want to sub this out and make this dish vegetarian, use vegetable broth or stock. If you don't have broth, you can use the bouillon cubes. Just add 1 bouillon cube with 2 cups of water. To your liquid, you're going to add 1 bay leaf and then season it with salt and pepper. Make sure you taste your liquid before you add any extra salt, because some broths are usually already salty unless it's like a low sodium broth. Alright, so we're going to push that to the back and then get our pot ready for our rice. So add in 1 tablespoon of butter. If you don't want to use butter, you can use any type of cooking oil, and then we're going to saute our mushrooms. So you're going to saute these mushrooms for about a minute, and then once they're ready, you're going to put them aside in a bowl and we'll use them later. Now you're going to saute your onions until they're translucent. That'll take about 2 minutes. Add in your garlic. That'll take another minute. And then add in your arborio rice. So I'm using 1 cup of arborio rice. What we want to do is toast the rice on medium heat and continue to stir it so it doesn't burn. The liquid that we made earlier, that's what we're going to use to cook our rice. So you're going to ladle in 1 ladle of broth at a time and stir it. So as your broth cooks out, you're going to add more broth, and you're going to continue this process. It'll take about 15 minutes for your rice to cook completely. Usually when you're making rice, especially steamed rice, you don't want to stir it because you'll end up with sticky rice. But in this case, we're looking for that creamy texture. So what we want to do is stir it and add the broth slowly. As it cooks out, we're going to add more liquid. So as our rice is cooking, we're going to shift it to the back burner so we can start working on our scallops. I have the rice on low heat, and just don't forget about it. Continue to mix it and add liquid as needed. I'm going to be using a cast iron skillet for the scallops. If you don't have a cast iron skillet, go ahead and use a saute pan. So what we're going to do now is dry our scallops. I'm using some napkins. You can use paper towel or even a cooking rag if that's what you have. That would work fine. So we want to pat the scallops dry on both sides. Anytime you're searing a meat, you want to pat it dry to allow for a nice caramelization and golden color. If you start with a wet meat, it won't get as crispy as you'd like it, and it won't have that really nice golden color. So always pat your meat dry. Another tip would be to let your meat sit out in room temperature for about 15 to 20 minutes before you prepare it. This also allows for even cooking, because if you were to take cold meat and throw it into a hot saute pan, even though the pan is really hot, the inside of the meat will be freezing cold, so it won't cook evenly and it will just take way longer to cook. So that's not what we want. We want nice, evenly cooked meat with super crispy skin. So that's what we're going for here. What you want to do now is score the scallop. So I'm slicing parallel and vertical lines about half a centimeter deep into the top of the scallop very gently. I'm using a really sharp knife. Scallops are really soft anyway, so it won't be hard. Just be very gentle. Don't go too deep. Another thing you want to do is remove the side muscle. When you cook the scallop with the side muscle, that part gets very tough and chewy. So we want to remove the side muscle from each scallop and then continue to score each scallop. It's not necessary to score the scallop. If you don't have the patience for this or you just want to skip it altogether, go ahead. Just pat your scallops dry. Season them with salt and pepper, whatever seasonings you'd like, and then go ahead to sear them. If you do want to try to score the scallop, go ahead. It doesn't take that long. It really helps with the cooking process. It allows it to cook more evenly, and then it just gives it a beautiful presentation at the end. You'll have that super crispy skin, and you'll have the score marks, and it just looks beautiful. So here I am removing the side muscle. It's really easy to come off. You just pull it off with your fingers. If it gives you a hard time, go ahead and use the knife. Again, guys, don't forget about your rice. It needs a lot of TLC. A lot of attention. Make sure you're mixing it, taste it as you go. Always taste when you cook, taste everything. When you're cooking especially, you don't have to follow the recipe to the T. You always want to modify and add flavors to your liking. Alright, so now that the rice is almost done, we're going to get started on the scallops. I have my hot pan and I'm adding 1 tablespoon of butter and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. The reason we're doing half and half is because butter has a very low smoking point, so if you add oil to the butter, it increases the smoking point, which will allow you to cook at a higher temp for a longer period of time, which is what we need when we're searing. Alright, so add a bunch of thyme and mix it all together, let those flavors marinate. And then in the meantime, you're going to season your scallops with salt and pepper. You can use whatever seasonings you like, but I personally prefer just salt and pepper and then fresh herbs and garlic. Alright, so now that your scallops are seasoned, you're going to add all of them to your hot saute pan. And then let the magic happen. Just let it sit there for about 2 minutes on that side. When you start to see that the scallop is turning golden brown, you can take a peek and see if it's ready. But don't bother it. Just let it work. Again, guys, don't forget about your rice. My rice is done, so I am adding the last of the broth and I'm turning it off. So we'll get back to the rice after we finish with the scallops. Look at that golden brown color. As you can see, my pan is really hot. I had to turn on my kitchen vent, but look at that, it's beautiful. You see the score marks, it's golden brown. Some of them will take longer than others, so you'll have to be patient. If it's ready, flip it. If it's not ready, leave it, let it work. If your time starts to get a little too dark, just flip it, or you can take it out of the pot altogether. So as I mentioned, it's 2 minutes, about 2 minutes on one side, or until you see it turning golden brown, and then flip it and you'll do another 30 seconds to a minute on the opposite side. So my time is starting to burn, so I took it out of the pot. And then I'm going to continue to cook my scallops. So I wanted to do this scallop tutorial. So I went out and I bought the scallops from Stop and Shop. Sometimes I go to Whole Foods or Fairway, but wherever you can get scallops, regular size scallops, that would do the job. And then I didn't know what I was going to make with them. So I just went home and I used whatever I had in my pantry and in my fridge. And I came up with this. And I think it turned out great. I feel like you're going to like it. Once they're ready, take them out and set them aside on a cutting board or on a plate, and then add a fresh bunch of thyme. I love cooking with thyme. You can leave out the thyme if you don't like it, that's fine. So to your pan, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of those sauteed mushrooms that we prepared earlier, and then you're going to deglaze the pan with a half a cup of chicken broth. You can use whatever broth you use to cook your rice. So we're deglazing the pan, meaning we're taking all of the flavors that are at the bottom of the pan from cooking the scallops, and we're absorbing it into the sauce. And then I'm squeezing about a half a teaspoon of fresh lemon, and then you mix it all together. Yes, and then you add in your scallops back. Oh my gosh, this looks beautiful. So add your scallops back in. These look amazing. What do you guys think? Alright, so now's your time to take pictures. Now's your time to take Instagram, social media pictures, brag to your family and friends. Show them how you're eating tonight. Show them your new master chef skills. Alright, so now we're going to set it aside and finish up our rice. So my rice got a little bit thick as it was sitting, so I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of chicken broth. So you don't want the rice to be too thick, because once you add the cheese, it will thicken. So I'm also adding the remainder of the sauteed mushrooms that we made earlier and about half of my grated Parmesan cheese. You're going to leave some for garnish. So you want to mix all of that together and then taste it. Adjust it if needed. I'm adding more cheese, so that was probably like 3/4 of a cup of grated Parmesan cheese, and then you're going to add 1 tablespoon of butter. You can skip the butter if you feel like this recipe calls for too much butter, you just want to be healthy. Maybe you want to use Smart Balance or margarine, that works too. Alright, so taste it, taste everything, adjust the seasoning accordingly. I always add my salt and pepper as I go. So I don't add too much in the beginning, because you can always add more, but you can never take out once you add too much. Alright, so the rice is done, so we're going to finish up the scallops. I'm going to turn the flame off on the scallops. They should not be cooking, they're already ready. And then what you want to do is taste it, see if the sauce is flavored well. If you need anything else added, I'm adding some fresh lemon juice. And then add 2 tablespoons of cold butter. You want to make sure you use cold butter, because this is how we're going to make our sauce. So you want to emulsify the cold butter with the chicken broth or the liquid that you have in your pan. By vigorously whisking it or mixing it together, you're creating an emulsification, which will allow the sauce to thicken. If you notice, the consistency is changing, the color is changing, the flavor will change. So you want to make sure you have cold butter. This will not work if you have room temperature or melted butter. It has to be cold butter. So voila, that's the final product. The sauce is thicker, the color changed, it's not as transparent and see-through. Taste it, and then if you need anything, add whatever you feel like you need, and that's it. There you have it, pan-seared scallops with creamy mushroom risotto. Guys, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more videos like this. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below or shoot me a message on Instagram. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys' final dishes. Please do tag me and let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe so you guys know when I post more videos like this. Thanks for watching.